Have you ever felt like a ghost in your own life, drifting through your days, haunted by the shadows of yesterday and terrified by the specters of tomorrow, never truly feeling the solid ground of the present moment beneath your feet? If you have, then you will understand the story of Leo. Leo was 24, an age that should have been vibrant with possibility, but for him, it was a cage built from anxiety. His mind was a relentless storm, a whirlwind of what-ifs and if-onlys. He would lie awake at night, the ghosts of past failures parading through his thoughts, a startup that had crumbled, a relationship that had ended in bitter words, opportunities he had been too afraid to take. These memories were heavy chains, dragging him down. And when his mind wasn't anchored in the regret of the past, it was soaring into the terrifying, unknown expanse of the future. Would he ever find a career that fulfilled him? Would he be able to provide for a family? Would he end up alone? His peace was a flickering candle in the hurricane of his own mind, constantly extinguished. He was present in body, but his soul was always somewhere else, lost in time. In a moment of quiet desperation, scrolling aimlessly on his phone, he stumbled upon an obscure blog post. It spoke of an old man named Silas, a former psychologist who had left the bustling city decades ago to live a simple life in a remote mountain village called Whisperwind Ridge. The article called him the Mender, a man who didn't offer cures or medication, but a single, profound lesson in peace. People from all walks of life, burdened by worries just like Leo's, had made the pilgrimage to see him and returned, not with answers to all their problems, but with a quiet stillness in their hearts, a spark of hope, fragile but bright, ignited within Leo. He booked a train ticket that very day, deciding that a long journey was a small price to pay for a chance to silence the storm inside him. The journey itself was a pilgrimage of shedding. The roaring city gave way to rolling suburbs, then to sprawling farmlands, and finally, to the rugged, winding roads that climbed into the mountains. After the train and a long bus ride, Leo had to walk the final few miles. The air grew crisp and smelled of pine and damp earth. The only sounds were the rustle of leaves and the distant call of a bird. It was a world away from the constant noise of his life and his mind. He found Silas not in a grand temple, but in a small stone cottage with a garden bursting with colorful, unruly flowers. Silas was a man whose age was impossible to guess. His face was a roadmap of wrinkles, but his eyes were clear, calm, and held a gentle, knowing light. He wasn't what Leo expected. He was just a man, sitting on his porch, carving a small wooden bird. Leo, feeling the weight of his long journey, poured out his story. He spoke of the relentless anxiety, the sleepless nights, the feeling of being a spectator to his own life. He explained his desperate need to find peace, to find some secret that would finally quiet his restless mind. Silas listened patiently, his hands never ceasing their gentle work on the wood. He nodded, but said nothing until Leo's torrent of words finally subsided, leaving a quiet stillness in the mountain air. Then, Silas looked up, his gaze direct but kind. He didn't offer a diagnosis or a complex theory. Instead, he stood, went inside his cottage, and returned with a simple, earthenware cup, filled to the absolute brim with clear, cool water. The surface tension was the only thing keeping it from spilling. "I have a task for you, Leo," Silas said, his voice as calm as a forest pool. "I want you to take this cup of water and walk to the ancient oak tree at the very edge of the village. Then, I want you to walk back here to me. The condition is this: you must not spill a single drop." Leo was bewildered. He had traveled for 2 days seeking profound wisdom, and he was being asked to run an errand. It felt like a child's game. But the look in Silas's eyes held no hint of mockery. It was a serious, gentle challenge. So, Leo took the cup. The earthenware was cool against his palms, and the weight of the water felt immense. He took a deep breath and began to walk. His entire world immediately shrank to the shimmering surface of the water in that cup. Every step was a calculated, deliberate act. He felt the slight unevenness of the dirt path through the soles of his shoes. He adjusted his balance, his core tightening. His breath became slow and steady, an anchor to his movement. A dog barked in the distance, but the sound was muted, a detail on the periphery of his awareness. The scent of wood smoke from a nearby chimney barely registered. His mind, that wild storm of past and future, had no room to rage. It couldn't worry about his career when it was focused on the tiny ripple caused by a misplaced step. It couldn't regret a past conversation when all of its energy was devoted to keeping the water's surface perfectly still. His universe was the cup, the water, and the path immediately before him. He reached the great oak tree, its ancient branches spreading like a silent guardian over the village. He didn't admire it. He simply used it as a turning point. His movements slow, fluid, and precise. The journey back was the same, a moving meditation. His focus was absolute. When he finally stood before Silas again on the porch, he held out the cup. It was still full. Not a single drop had been spilled. A wave of quiet pride and profound exhaustion washed over him. Silas smiled gently and took the cup. "Well done," he said. "Now, tell me, Leo, what did you see on your walk? Did you notice the blue wildflowers growing by the path? Did you hear the children laughing in the village square? Did you feel the cool breeze as it came down from the mountain peak?" Leo blinked, searching his memory. He had seen nothing. He had heard nothing. He had felt nothing but the cup in his hands and the ground under his feet. I didn't notice any of that," he admitted, a little ashamed. "I was so focused on not spilling the water." Silas's smile widened and his eyes shone with understanding. "Exactly," he said, his voice soft but powerful. "The cup of water was your present moment. I filled it to the brim, making it your sole priority. While you were carrying it, while all of your attention was on that single, simple task, where was your anxiety? Where were your regrets about the past? Where were your fears for the future?" The realization struck Leo with the force of a lightning bolt. It was so simple, yet so profound. In those 20 minutes his mind had been quiet. It had been at peace. The storm had ceased, not because his problems had vanished, but because his attention had been fully, completely, and utterly anchored in the now. "Peace is not a place you travel to, Leo," Silas continued. "It is not a secret I can give you. It is a state you already possess, waiting within you. You have been searching for it everywhere outside of yourself, when the key was always to come home to the present moment. Your life is that cup of water. When you carry it with your full attention, focused on the step you are taking right now, the storm in your mind has no wind to fuel it. Your anxiety lives in the future, and your regret lives in the past. They cannot survive in the present." Leo left Whisper Wind Ridge the next day. He carried no magical charm or secret mantra, but he possessed something far more valuable, a newfound understanding. The journey home was different. He noticed the deep green of the pine needles, the warmth of the sun on his face through the bus window, the genuine smile of the woman who sold him a coffee. He was no longer a ghost. He was present. Back in the city, the noise and the pressures returned, but Leo was changed. When the old anxieties began to creep in, he would close his eyes and remember the feeling of the earthenware cup. He would anchor himself to the now, focusing on the simple sensation of his breath entering and leaving his body, the taste of his food, or the sound of rain against his window pane. Each present moment became his cup of water. He learned to carry it with care, with focus, and in doing so, he discovered that the profound, unshakable peace he had traveled so far to find had been in his own hands all along. If you are struggling, please know that you are not alone, and help is available.